sometimes we're in environments where we're seeking permission and we don't know that we're seeking permission, and we don't know that we're kind of inside an archetypal theme, or we could even say like a karmic theme, where our environment is not going to give us the permission we're seeking. So what we end up doing is coping with that tension through imposter syndrome. And so what I would suggest when people are experiencing imposter syndrome is a few things. First thing is that imposter syndrome isn't bad. And I know that people can actually suffer from imposter syndrome, and therefore it could be debilitating. And in that case, I do validate that it's horrific to live in imposter syndrome. But if we can almost harness this force of what imposter syndrome is, it could be our greatest ally in evolving. One way that it could be the greatest ally in our evolving is by helping us become more in alignment. People who care about alignment and sincerity tend to be more sensitive, energetically speaking. When they are, it's far easier to fall under imposter syndrome because you're sensitive. So when you're sensitive, you care about alignment, and therefore you're going to go through deeper, more thorough lengths to be in alignment. And that journey into deeper and more thorough lengths to be in alignment can also be called imposter syndrome. That's how at least it's going to be experienced, because it's going to be experienced as like, am I doing the best I can? Am I like things that are very accountable? That's why I put imposter syndrome under the category of a beautiful problem, because sometimes people come to me with problems and I'm like, man, that's a beautiful problem. That's like you're a beautiful person. Because inside a world of growing, breaking through the clutter, that's what they call it in marketing. They call it like there's so much clutter for your attention, for your money, for your product, and it's up against so much competition that they call it breaking through the clutter. So in a world where everything is a race or perceived as that, and trying to break through the clutter, the fact that people have imposter syndrome first needs to be kind of like acknowledged at like the fact that even though it could come from a lot of trauma, a lot of insecurity, that it can be alchemized, it can be transmuted to being like, I refuse to participate the same way that the world has set us all up to participate, where we're all more focused on a formula to break through the clutter. And instead, these insecurities I have, or this lack of worthiness, or this permission I'm seeking, or whatever the insecurity is, as long as you're aware of it or semi-aware of it, and really owning it, really embracing it, then you're able to alchemize it in a way where you're going, I will do this with it. You get to determine, you get to choose what to do with it. And so it can be the greatest form of art. It can be the greatest form of uniqueness. Because what you're doing is now taking whatever you're having imposter syndrome about. In this case, it was like your recent insights. And what you're able to do is go, how can I put my energetic signature on this? How can I put my uniqueness onto this before it goes out into the world, in whatever capacity it is, whether it's just you sharing that with another person, whether that's you trying to share that in a blog or a larger platform or social media, whatever it is. Well, what typically we need to start with is looking at how it can be imprinted with our unique energetic signature. That's what is the first like layer of medicine for it. And the reason why this is the first layer of medicine for imposter syndrome is because what it's actually lacking, which makes it imposter syndrome, is this lack of uniqueness. It's going, I don't know if I got this thing right because it's not mine. I don't know if I'm doing it right because other people know more about this thing than me, or other people have higher certifications than me. So already, do you see how it's not communed with, it's not connected with enough to even be able to say, like, wow, I don't know if I'm regurgitating this thought right or this thing right. I don't know if I'm copying this thing right. So the idea of creating artistry in whatever form this is coming in, this doesn't need to be art, but take what I'm saying and then apply it as it resonates. Putting your art and your artistry onto whatever that is now making it more you. And that's not only alchemizing the fact that, like, you're dealing with imposter syndrome, so you're not sure if you're getting this message right and someone else looks like they're getting messages better, or you're not sure if you're getting, like, you're as qualified for this one program, and so you're getting certifications, but these other people have these certifications and they have more authority to speak on something. What's lacking is that ability to really own the fact that this is not just received and then spit out, regurgitated. It is so yours that it might not even be the thing that you're worried about impostering. And in that case, we have to look at imposter syndrome from another way as well. And that's, there's an issue in whatever it is, whatever the field that we think that we have imposter syndrome about. There's an issue with the ability to really connect with something and the originality if in the first place we're not inputting and outputting something on a conveyor belt of accuracy. So the more we understand ourselves and the more we understand why we have those blocks, those insecurities, and then from there, how to transmute them through understanding something by validating it ourselves, because that's something that imposter syndrome is definitely ruled by. It's validation. So being able to validate something ourselves and then create a uniqueness from it, so that then that uniqueness from it isn't like, you know what, it could have been that person's teachings, like that system's teachings, but I don't know if I'm reciting that right, but this is how I believe, or this is my thing from it. There's so many times when I've learned a spiritual system and I can't help but get my own insights. It's almost as I'm reading something, I'm getting my own cognizance about it. And in that case, I'm like, okay, what I'm reading, am I saying that right? And so in that case, I'm like, well, I could split the difference. I could tell you guys this teaching here, and then I could tell you my gnosis from it. And then there's no issue about imposter syndrome or not, because I'm not trying to be that system. I've evolved out of it. So that's also something to take into consideration as well, because I know many of my audience are spiritually sovereign or working towards that. And because of that, they might like 3 systems at once, and they might be synthesizing it, or they might like learn something a lot from one system and go deeply into it, but then not really know at the end of the day if they're in full resonance with it, because they're also growing and expanding at the same time. So a lot of different nuances to imposter syndrome. And I could go on forever about that. So I'll just say more about that later at another time. I talk about that a lot in my in-person events, because that's a question people have in person. So more of the things that are like the everyday, how to be a human going through the spiritual awakening, are the core parts of my in-person events.